object of one's idea and life, to attain something through that, and that is how I see my work. So after initial learning of methods, materials, art, history, and things, looking at other artists, meeting them, learning about people, learning about our own culture, other cultures and everything has contributed to almost everything I am today. And some of the things we will discuss, or I will try and explain to you what things are. Mainly, it is a bit like going through a kind of scrapbook of ideas in terms of images as well as development of images, which is not necessarily a linear progression. Sometimes I go back to some things that still interest me, and there are things which actually are, say, taken over by other things over the years. It depends when it's like scattering seeds, ideas as seeds. Some turn into concepts of interest, they still are under development, and some of the things, say, grow at certain time, others grow at another time, and that is how the world of forms seems to have worked for me. So we'll begin with the slides. I will let you know the title of the work and year, and I hope that will give you some idea of how things have progressed in terms of my self-expression. Thank you. From 74 onwards, I began studying in Baroda. Whenever possible, I worked with materials which were handy and available. So during one vacation, I made some ceramics in, say, 75 summer vacation in my village factory. The kind of images that has affected me is obviously instinctively as human as possible and as real as possible. There are things that affect you when you work with people that are around you, and you keep thinking about things. You also keep finding out ways of expressing yourself, and that is how my early days were, where I, in one way or other, wondered what was there to be said as an artist. And it's a kind of, I would never call it a struggle, because it should be a matter of pleasure to try and explore yourself, to find ways of expressing yourself. So there are things that are like man on chair and relief and man on the cube and a kind of puzzlement, a kind of search to look for ways from the flux of life or ideas into reality. In 78, 79, Chapter. They are painted gold and silver. So you can imagine things like how what one sees around made some difference. Like seeing some things of Suza, few things of Himmat Shah, and then again trying to look at oneself and learning and drawing from nature and people around, from photographs as well, that how the form can actually be drawn on a paper which reveals all its dimensions apart from its psychic content. Then the walking man, pastel on paper. Then in 79-80 made some heads and busts. And progressed to making life-size images which interested me for their impact in terms of our own scale. And that is where the idea of sculpture as a form in space mattered or made more sense to me. So here, this is almost in the self-image of a man looking at the world almost without any sense of gain or loss. It's called Man with Dog. Walking man again in fiberglass. They're painted pieces, but then they look more ashen. And sitting man, between 1980 and 81, there were a set of 4 sculptures that I had made. Here one can see that I liked some things of Egyptian sculpture. Then a kneeling man. I thought that sculpture actually do not carry a greater message other than seeking itself. The ideas of Indianness has always interested me and has always posed difficult problems. That what is Indian? How do we look at things Indian as Indians? How do we make things Indian as Indians? And the great wealth of Indian sculpture, painting and monuments actually should make things easier for everyone, but it's not quite so, because what comes through an artist must be part and parcel of his being, that how it becomes one's own life set. So anyway, away from the kind of physiognomic and other details that interested me, as a matter of study, by being a student, I began to think differently. And here is a bust. Say something which interested me for its robustness, an exuberance, and perhaps delight of being there. And this is a painted plaster piece of 1981. Then soon after my MA here in Baroda, and several months I went to the UK at Royal College of Art. I made a head, which again actually is a kind of amusement of being where I was then And by that time, I learned a little bit about gilding. So use gold and silver leaf on that. So this is carved chalk of woman. So from 81 to 83, I worked with chalk, plaster, mixed media, fiberglass. So this is one of the chalk pieces. This is also a small chalk of several inches in dimension. Using a rubble chalk allowed me to explore what was hidden in it, and I had no idea what it was until I discovered those images. So every time when I worked with a newer thing or something which actually is pleasing and allows me to work with, so it will work as a sequence of images, and until I am unable to make more of the work in terms of exploring them, and the moment I realize that it is going back to certain repetition or whatever, then I stop. So here is a work called Woman. It's a life size. It's in fiberglass, painted 1982. I also used to visit all public collections and museums and galleries, and like the idea of Tipu as a tiger, so made a life size, a little more life size piece called Tipu, which is made of plaster and fiberglass and painted. Then comes working with sand and cement. This is Sitting Bull of 1983. It was made for an exhibition, a biannual exhibition called As of Now in Walker Art Gallery in Liverpool. So this is Sitting Bull painted, which is almost 4 feet tall from the ground. In the summer of 83, the students were encouraged to visit a disused stone quarry in Portland, south of England. So I went along with some people there and tried to make chisel out an idea of a nymph or a figure in the wilderness of the disused stone quarry, where much of the stone for London buildings was quarried. Portland stone. In 84, the work with the sand and cement took another form, where I made a reasonably monumental looking Sitting Bull in Liverpool. In 2008, the base piece was moved from where it was in Liverpool to another place, and then they have repainted it with flat colors. The colors I had used were actually more like pouring of color, like a kind of ritual activity, but then also making sure that the whole thing looked rich in its effect, and also the dribbles and the marks revealed its form. In late 84, in summer 84, studio. Till then, I was afraid if I would have much to do, if I hadn't had space in any college. So after 9 years of college life, here I was in a room, left to myself, and wondering what to do next. So there are some things I began with by getting pieces of chalk from nearby quarry in the Royston. Then the kind of wilderness in the Newnham College garden led me to think about a little bird. It was made with plaster. It's life size. Then a set of 4 guardians of directions of space were made as if to guard sanctity of my search. This is guardian of war, the other one was guardian of death. This is guardian of water. This is guardian of treasure. They are made of plaster and painted. After the residency in Cambridge, which ended in 1986, I came to London and visited home. I found this little piece of fabric called Mataji no Pisoda, printed in Ahmedabad, and the figure on the left interested me and still interests me for its strangeness or movement. So I began to see figure as a kind of modular structure of as a modular image, and seeing as an artist and seeing things in terms of finding the right kind of archetypes. Here Hanuman as a spatial metaphor, that how it can activate a pictorial space. Here the idea of I made numerous reliefs in plaster. In 1987 I worked on 11 medallions. They are called Maya medallions. Calling Maya medallions involuntary creation. Then also few are called the dark ones. The other ones, most of them are in sand and cement. Some are in plaster. And the images in the medallions involved symbols of regeneration and rebirth. There were fish, kind of throne, the idea of a seed, then elephant, tree, etc. And this is a tiny silver elephant, about an inch. It's made of, it was made in mid-90s. This is Maya medallion, the involuntary creation. Maya medallion, the dark one. They were modeled in clay and cast in plaster. 1987, I was reminded of while looking for ideas that actually I could work upon as with a new vigor in my sculptural vocabulary. The Gujarati folk terracottas, the tribal terracottas interested me. Their freedom to work with form was very important for me. Where I lived, there was a chair which had 3 legs and also arms, which I thought looked like a figure. So out of the chair, I started sort of seeing it as a kind of organic thing, as if it grew out of something and it looked like some kind of creature, had sort of liveliness of its own, which is clumsy as well as a bit childish. Then using plaster, sand and cement, bronze, etc. Then while thinking of the chair, I worked upon the object. So this is called the object. So here the object in itself is of importance. And the object too was the other chair that you saw. So this object becomes a kind of architectural folly. And this is life-size object again in plaster. Then another study to see it as a kind of monumental work. In '89, I came across an Apple computer with some friends, and they had a laser painter. There they asked me how to draw with a mouse and do something. This was just a taste of computer to come. And then my interest in geometry also led to complex modular structures, which is like, again, Hanuman, a spatial metaphor. Over the years, the image of Hanuman has interested me, and since the last lockdown, I have made something that can stand on its own. It began as a sort of 2-dimensional piece, then wall piece, and then this is something which can stand on its own, regardless scale. So up to about 10-15 feet it should be able to stand on its own. One of the chalk pieces of 1888 and 89, it's called the river. There are more than several pieces which were carved. Some were cast in bronze. Then again, something called the woman. It was imagined in the form of something much too large to be made as a proposal, which never worked for anyone. But I like the idea of working for something, regardless it works or not. So I was imagining perhaps that it could be made of steel. This was in 1987. '86, '87. In 88, that model was made into a sand and cement piece in Glasgow. This is the back view. So the idea of sculpture, its importance lies in it being in front of you, offering you different views and different experience as you go around it. In 1989, I worked upon the idea of figure as say how to make something which actually is not truly in proportion the way it should be in nature, but how to make say some things which is say big-footed, and I call them tree spirits. So there is also an attempt to actually see or imagine the figure as a modular creature where all the limbs more or less are long and similar in scale. In 1989, this was made as a model for a work to be made in Cardiff, National Museum of Wales. This is called Regarding Guardians of Art. So it is made of Portland sandstone, which is at the top of a building, about 40 feet up from the ground. It is on the corner of the art department. So that's where the object actually eventually got to. And the object also turned into a stainless steel piece in what I had begun in 1995. This was made in 97, completed in 97. It was with the Goodwood Sculpture Park, which is 16 feet tall. Here it is with in front of the City Museum and Art Gallery in Milton Keynes. This is a plaster piece. The object 2 turning into a kind of lonely figure on its own journey on a boat. This is called On Sail. Then I made several versions of On Sail. This is called Diagram of an Object. And the bronze was made for the Untitled Art Gallery in Glasgow. A variation of that is the Churchill College in Cambridge. That how the figure could be seen as an image in monument. So a series of spatial diagrams were made in bronze that are inspired by the idea seated. So it actually like that figure in that hand printed cloth. It's like it is sitting, it's also getting up. It's seated. So to try to sort of dismantle the idea of a given body, they're also trying to see and imagine something in terms of space where work in itself is a kind of theorem in space. So this image has interested me for quite a while now. There are also numerous other pieces made called The Light of the Reason dialectal images. They were in bronze in early 1992. In 89-90 there were dialectal images. There were a number of them with a front and back view. In bronze. That particular image I wanted to make using steel, so began working with it in 2014 or so, and then recently we have made a larger version of it. It has taken quite a while to work out all its technical and other details to make it stand on its own. This is the larger version made recently, which is nearly 7 feet. So they are called Triad Diagrams. It's a Triad Diagram F, Triad Diagram M. It's a male and female version of it. The idea of rasa has interested me. And in one way or other, over the period of time, it is attempted in plaster, bronze, even in steel reliefs. So, Rati, Hasya, Shok, Karuna, Veer, and heroic, Bhayanak, ODS, and a kind of Adbhut, Shant. They are not necessarily sort of all of them in one order. Sometimes if I missed something while working for some reason, then I haven't tried to go back to it and just left it. In 1991, I was appointed as a principal artist for the main civic square in Birmingham City. This is in front of the council house, the seat of local government. They designed the the Victoria Square Guardian, another version. There are a few Indian friends of mine who visited the place and sent me a photo. Victoria Square Guardian too. This place is right around, very close to the university and art school. A lot of people come and sit there in the afternoon when it is sunny. So here is the river with two guardians on both its side. As one looks down from the council house, there are mountains as well for the river. Birmingham has no real river. It only has canals. This is also variations. I worked on variations of the object as lamp standards. So they are made of sandstone. Here they are models. And here is work made of cardboard, which actually was the model for the steel piece. There is something called the indivisible. Has a structure on its own, and while looking around, these pieces are called looking around, to make one aware of the sense of space. Then some gold reliefs of 1994. And thinking again. In 97 I came back to India to resume my work again. What I had left from my college days. So instead of making almost solid looking things in steel, I began with pure skeletal, lighter structure using steel rods. Here is a sitting man. I made about 15 variations of actual line of control. The object. Most of them are about 2 feet tall pieces, but then some are 8 feet, some are 18, some are 16 feet. The illusion of clarity, emptiness, and space give the object its inherent interest. In 2002, there was an opportunity to make something called the Goddess of Love, which was made, which is 7 feet, something like that, 7 feet something in its height, and it's made of cyanite. Again, the use of tubular elements using glass fiber and resin. On the right is something called UNO. UNO. At that time in 2003, I worked on some bronze pieces. And as usual, there are always animals and people everywhere. And also imagined that maybe I should try sitting bull again. So I carved it out of Siporex. Then in 2015, I worked on another bull because I wanted to see after my stroke that was it possible to make a modeled figure, So this is the result. In 2003, 4, there were some steel pieces. From 97 onwards, the working with steel continued. This is an 8 feet by 8 feet by 8 feet figure. Sort of a swastika-like figure, or I call it spatial diagram. This is in a kind of place in Dahej, in South Gujarat. It's a simple use of two pieces of two planes, two metal planes, which offer 4 surfaces and therefore 4 different colors. Like this. I also use this imagery to make works like working with elements like fire, sky, water, ether, and earth. This is a kinetic piece which moves around on its own with a breeze of wind. And this is also a spatial diagram. It's made of stainless steel, 7 feet. Another version of the piece is in Bangalore. Instead of simple use of two planes, it interested me to actually make some things more complex. So going back to the seated figure again, where there are more than two planes interacting, and that's what has led to current work. The seated and reclined were larger versions were made for Delhi University. And this is the bronze which led to the idea of reclining, idea of recline in steel. This is in Delhi University. While working with AutoCAD, I was often thinking that it is something that could be made somewhere interacting with one another. Here are multiple planes with more color and offering more complex result. So this is recline, another way of looking at the figure. In 2018-19, the works that were made were painted, and they created a kind of illusion of space, illusion of form, and light and shade affected its perception. Here again, here you are. I call this piece is called. They are called here you are. That means well, it's where I actually have to attend to everything in such a way that it only makes me aware of me being there, and the result is the subject becoming an object of intense interest. This is 4 millimeter thick stainless steel, which is life size. It's detail. It's a reclining figure. This is called reading recline, as if it's like figure lying on its stomach more or less and looking up as if reading. In 2004 to 7, there were numerous reliefs made. This is head. These are parts of spatial diagram where the figures are free and moving in free space. There are a few Maya medallions made where the silhouette and profile work together. This is fairly geometric in its effect, but it is called still life, where the idea of cylinder, cube, cone, and sphere are together along with other things. In 2014 till 15, I worked on reliefs called Something Else, where the sculptural object is present through its absence. So the spatial diagrams involve male and female figure. Then working on the idea of creating a robust roundness. Here comes the use of steel again to make a standing torso. And how to infuse movement. Going beyond and further is something called sour seeds, planting something, or working in a field. So recently this is made. It's called primal reconstruct, where the torso is in movement. This is 7 feet. Its balance is precarious but stable. In 2007, torso and primal reconstruct as a reclining piece. At that time, it seemed difficult to actually make something large stand safely. So the piece actually had to be displayed, and I used it as a reclining torso. In 2008, I worked on the idea of bird again, and making it with steel was obviously a challenging thing. Since it offered complex viewing and also the use of paint and how to add movement to something which is otherwise stable, This is life size. Life size means this is 4.5 feet. There is a little taller version than this. But anyway, it has taken a long time to try and work out all the details to make it large enough to create the kind of impact that it should to our own scale. In 2014 onwards, this has interested me. It's called Doodle Dome. So Doodle Dome 2014 to say now, this was called 2014 to 2019, and then there will be another one to be made, which will be 2014 to 2024. It's the kind of trade-off development. Since the last few years, I have been involved with making the works that I have been making for all these years, to turn them into, say, significant forms in terms of our scale, so that they have their own presence, different than smaller pieces. So I'm working upon pieces larger than, say, life size as well as larger than life size works now. And because of the lockdown, it's not easy to work with things. So whenever I get the opportunity to do things, it's a very slow process because everything is trial and error. Here is a life-size bird which is above 5 feet, 5 feet 3 or something. This work was is called Untitled. It began with the first lockdown. It is still in process to be made life size. I think this is the last slide perhaps. This is the last slide. Sumeru?
Thank you, Dhruv sir. It was a very enlightening and very fascinating presentation that you gave. It was really interesting the way that you used all the different kind of materials ranging from tribal terracotta to steel to bronze, and even the possibility of various things like forms, proportions, and as you said, it's more of a working theorem in the space. So those spatial arrangements and different kind of possibilities that you did, it was really interesting to see all of those works, especially the swastika figure and the Hanuman figure. So now, quickly going to the next part, I shall open up the session to faculty members of the Kala Bhavan, and if they wish to speak about the experience of the session and various kind of experiences and opinions that they might have. Over to you.
Sorry, did you ask me to say something?
No, sir. Subsequently, I would request students to write down their question if they have in the chat box. If not, Rohan will be reading them out to the session. And now request to the faculty members to share their experiences.
Okay. Strange enough, actually, even when I was using only by changing slides, it also went back at time. I have no idea why. Instead of it progressing one after another, it went on going back as well.
I would request everyone, if they have questions or any queries, to please write in the comment box so that we can address them. And meanwhile, faculty members, if they want to add something to the discussion, please do.
So, I have a question. Oh, Sanjay, you were proceeding, please.
No, I was thinking that if our other faculties like Prashanto or anybody would like to say something on these occasions.
So yes, I did my master's from Baroda. I was there from 1998 to 2002, and I'm absolutely familiar with your works, but it's really nice to see all them together. You know, the whole body of work since 1970 till date. And happy to see you like working. I mean, in the lockdown also we are continuously working, so that was wonderful. I just have a question. It's not regarding your practice directly, but like if you look at the whole growth of sculpture since 1970s to 2010, 2010. So if you see then, like it's merging into installation art, and so your views towards installation art, process-based art, if you would say something about that, it would be very good for our students.
Sorry, I couldn't quite understand your question. question.
I mean, your cues towards installation art specifically. I mean, it.
Installation.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Um, well, the sculpture as my concept of sculpture is an object in space, and anything that is installed in public is obviously something that people can go around. And there are like temples, sculptures which are say in Mahabalipuram or otherwise, wherever you can go around something that is truly something which is installed in our own space, and it can give you a great deal of experience, which is different than what you see in terms of installations in enclosed areas like galleries or whatever else, because those experiences are also possible wherever one can see them. In fact, while I was accompanying Subramanian in London, he was telling me something about installation. He said to travel by tube is in itself an experience, and that is really very close to something which an installation of art cannot do. So they can be temporal, they can be say living a particular kind of life over the exhibition itself, or the exhibition, or they can be permanent. Much of my installation interest is to make something which would have relatively safer and longer life. Since I do not believe in wasting my effort, and therefore permanent installations make sense only if one wants to think about things that your work will have to endure in some time. Because the life of images cannot be so short-lived. They cannot actually endure time. Endure time, people, images, circumstances, climate, and cultures. The best of works actually affect us purely when they go beyond all the limitations, and therefore they become universal.
Thank you, Professor Dhruva Mistry, for your sharing this long range of journey, because it's very important to see how a work evolves and how one process leads to the other, and then you find ways to move inside, move outside, and constantly converse with different forms. But I was also interested to it's a little extension of what Prashant was saying, but more on a intimate level, in a sense, when you are making a sculpture which is meant for viewing indoors, something that, and then when you are engaging with a site, with a place, so what are the different shift of parameters that has affected your practice? How you have approached them, if you could talk a little bit about that. Like doing it in the public space and making sculptures which are more.
To work in a public space actually is a demonstration of working with limitations. To make something for your own pleasure, which is what I'm interested in doing the most. That's what I have been doing. So, work with public spaces anywhere, they have the reasons to support the whole idea, the whole project, the power, materials, resources, and therefore they have expectations. images. I have not said anything which would particularly please anyone. I have more than often only did what I can do. If they like it, it is for them. If they don't like it, they don't have to have it. And that is the idea of commission for me. And that's exactly why I see them as my own work, not something made for someone else. For that matter, I actually made a portrait for anyone yet.
I think students, if there are some comments and questions from the students, it would be
Sure.
So I would like to read. Yes, sir.
Good.
continue, please.
Joseph, I would like to read some of the comments that our students and participants have shared. Nipun Das asks, what is the primary role of an artist and how do you describe yourself in the context of challenging people's perspectives through your work of art?
Primary role of the artist.
Yes, sir.
People's perspectives. You don't really have to knock down anybody's idea. You can use their existing ideas in order to offer much better ideas. If one believes in sensations of shocking people, creating sensations of attraction, these are not things about self-love. There is an age of an artist when one is very young and ambitious. I want to make a name by hook or crook. You can do something. So I was talking to some now very well-known artist in London, and they said, "What is my interest in art?" I said, "My interest in art is to sit along the side of a river and see who can swim against the stream, who can swim well with the stream, who can cut across the stream, who can make a splash, and who sinks and who swims." So that is the way things should work for an artist. They are not there to just cause sensations and strive for attention, which is not right.
Thank you, sir. The second question is by Gitanjali. She asks, in your works we have seen extensive use of color, especially reclining figure series. So what is the prominence of colors in the works, if you want to talk about that?
Color is as deep as skin deep as it is with us. If you scratch the surface, the reality bites. So color is important only as a matter of its surface values. It is not the substance. It's a substance in itself for sculpture. So color is important. For instance, if I make an apple, if it looks absolutely white, you might imagine it to be dead. You might imagine it to be fake. You might imagine it to be unreal. If the same apple is painted almost like real apple, it might attract you. It might deceive you. You might try to eat. Now, I don't know if this is the way color should work. But I'm not using color in this same sense of using color naturalistically to try and emulate reality. The color is used only to add to the idea of illusion of forms, how they can work together better, or how they can break the monopoly of a neutral, silvery, almost menacingly dead
Yes, sir. So the third question is by Nayantara. She asks, I noticed an element of mythology in your early works, especially in your Guardian series. Could you please elaborate on the role of myth in your sculptures?
The idea of myth actually is not part and parcel of sculpture as such, purely because um, myths can inspire you. Myths can make the unreal sound real. It can also lead you to believe that some things almost magical or impossible can happen, and you can also be part of it. And it has its role, considering that an artist wishes to use elements of myth to recreate what the artist wants to do. But trying to follow myths as such is not something which is like, say, um, uh, a kind of creating a kind of narrative as if in Amravati reliefs or Borobudur reliefs or something like that, or Ajanta paintings. That's not quite the role of an artist today, I think. So myths are, say, convenient tools where necessary. One can use them, and I think more than myths, what is important is, say, a very insignificant kind of seed that is, say, banyan seed. A banyan tree seed is very small, insignificant. It can fly away. But what is important is to understand the potential of things, like the meaning and beauty of a dewdrop. How it contains the world is more important than trying to contain the world, in one's imagination and effort in such a way that actually it shatters the world. So depends on how we grow and how we respond to things, and that's where it matters.
Thank you, sir.
I would like to now place my query to Dhruva Mistry sir, and firstly I would like to thank Dhruva Mistry sir for this amazing session he performed, and since my college days we have been discussing a lot about his ways of working, particularly what difference I see between his sculptural engagements. So my question is related to this: that what difference you see between your expression through graphic element and the tactile form that you work in sculpture?
Well, right from the start, what most children begin to draw if they learn to paint or they learn to sculpt. So it's very important that the meaning of drawing, the way you draw things out of life as an artist, matters. The moment you draw with any material, it's insignificant, or what is it? It would leave a very significant imprint of itself, whether it be a pen or pencil or croquille or brush or pastel or charcoal, anything. So it's very important to understand what one does with one's material, what one does with what one creates in any for any given purpose, whether it be a copper plate, zinc plate, wood, or linoleum, or whatever else. drawing is the basis of everything, and the more you can draw out of life, the more you can see in it, and more you can find, be able to share what you find with others, will make you a better artist.
I think there are some one or two more queries from students.
Yes, sir. I think we can take one more question. Nimita asks, we see your interest in indulging with women figures and their postures. How do you navigate through them in terms of their representation?
Figure is used as a form, and therefore, say, what we confuse it with in terms of its mortal effects should not be considered part of sculpture. So seeing the, that's what I was saying right from the beginning, that the subject of my interest for any artist, for that matter, begins with their first effort of doing something in terms of drawing or painting or representing something or other thing. So here I'm interested in representation, of representing things that I feel and understand. Other thing is my figures, particularly female figures. They are not, say, life studies as such. Although life studies interested me and I worked from life, I understand that. But I made male figures purely to avoid female figures. I hadn't seen the kind of figures that I liked. So I did not fancy that and made fancy figures. But then I stopped that. But then when I learned something more and when I did life study enough, then I thought maybe I could begin with female figures and see that in terms of the kind of as a kind of mother imagery rather than seeing it as an object of, say, gratification or desire. And what I was saying that in the end what happens that the figure doesn't even remain as a form, it only remains quite like an idea which actually suggests a form. And the kind of particularly the steel figures, they are actually fragments, numerous fragments put together in order to conjure up a reality which actually we live in a very polarized world. We live in a world which in one way or other is a diminishing world. It's a fearful world where people are afraid of their own existence. They don't know so many things. What they don't know fills them with fear and dread, whether it be environment, whether it be viruses, whether it be ideologies or whatever else. So the object becomes my subject, and therefore there is no nudity in it, and there is no kind of content which should, which I see to offend anyone or to promote anything in particular, other than creating or recreating a sculptural subject in itself.
Thank you, sir. I think that answers the question very fine. Summing up, I would like to thank you for your presence again, and it was again a very interesting journey, seeing your path from medallions to different kind of plays in in the terms of forms and proportions and spatial arrangements, to then, as you said, different kind of figurines where you were trying to depict motion, and with the help of a static object like steel and birds, the series that you did. It was certainly very fascinating, the terminologies and the different kind of mindset with the approaches and the different kind of things that you worked with. I would like to thank everyone again for joining in and tuning in. At the last, if any faculty members would like to say anything, or any of Dhruv sir, if you would like to say anything, please.
I think I shall invite Sanchenda for
Yeah, thank you, Kumar. I thank again Professor Dhruva Mistry for spending this 1.5 hours with us and with our students, and really talking about through your practice, opening up the whole discourse of process and materiality and how it can create parallel worlds to engage with our everyday conflicts and contradictions and go beyond it and see beyond it, and how sculpture or art practice itself can emerge as a reality and can pose a lot of counterpoints to what we experience life with. So I really thank you to come with us and be with us for these long sessions. I know you have been a little ill, but still you have made this effort and to be with us. So I really thank you for that. I thank Kumar to take all the initiatives and be with the institute academic system, and then finally make this session possible to communicate with you, sir, and then share this and work together to start this process. And all the faculty members and the head of the department, and also the students body and the Department of Painting students who have all joined hands to start this initiative. And I hope in the coming months we will be also able to invite more artists of different times, and the sense of contemporary, present day young artists, and also some of the more senior minds who have been working with a lot of experience to share their point of views to us in the coming months. So again, I thank you, Professor Mistry, for being here today with us, and maybe we can have the end of the session for this for today, and we look forward in future for such good participation from the students, and also more work and making which will enlighten us more and more. Thank you very much.
I am particularly pleased that you were all present, and I tried my best to help you with your interests, and I hope it has been a fruitful exercise for you. This is a very first strange experience for me to talk to you through this strange kind of media. To you all, I hope there will be better times.
Yes, of course. It will be always nice to have you in the campus and be with us in future.
Well, I hope someday
we can
there
also
will be an opportunity. Yes,
surely.
Yeah, sure.
Nice to meet you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone. Thank you for joining. A very warm good evening.
Thank you. Good evening.